Hi, this is Dan Foss, and for this installment of A Noob's Guide to Reloading, I've got my reloading station put together. I just took an old junky bookshelf I had laying around, added some scrap wood to brace it up so it doesn't rack, and put a piece of plywood on top to give me a good solid work surface to mount to, and put it next to my workbench. I don't really have room on my workbench because there's usually projects and junk on it, both for this channel and my other channel, Barely Practical, so check it out. But so far it seems good and sturdy, so let's put the press together. So now that I have my, basically it's a press station in place, we'll put together this bad mamba jahamba. First thing we're going to do is install this tube on the bottom of the ram, and it catches the primers that the depriming die knocks out. And there's just a little nipple on the bottom of the ram, and it slips right on. Okay, next we're going to put in the casing holder. And we'll start with the decapping die. And for this press, according to the instructions, you screw it down until it touches the casing holder. And I've already gone through with all the dies and set the depths. Okay, next we'll put on the expanding die. And I've installed the powder drop and the riser onto it. That way it sits up a little higher and gives you a little more clearance. And for this one, you screw it down until it touches the casing holder, and then back off one complete turn, and then lock down your locking ring. Okay, the next one is the seating die, and it seats the projectile into your casing, and you screw it down until it touches the casing holder, and then back off 3 turns, 3 complete turns, and then lock down your locking ring. And the last is the crimping die. And that will crimp the casing around your projectile to give you a nice tight fit. And that one, I just used a factory round, because you screw it down until it touches it says I think the shoulders, until you feel it touch the shoulders, and then lock it down. And then all of these settings before I'll do a test run without any powder, make sure all the settings are correct. So now we'll install this priming arm, and we'll remove that. And in the center of this ram there's a little bar, a little pin, and this little notch here rides on that pin so it can pivot. And then reinstall a casing holder. And to install the safety prime, we need to remove this bolt and install this holder pivot thing. And before we tighten it down, we'll check the alignment. Make sure it lines up with that primer arm. It looks good. So we'll snug it down and do one more check just to make sure it stayed aligned. Looks good to me. That's basically how you put one together. So now that it's all together, we'll go through how it basically works. You'll have your powder loaded in your powder drop, new primers in your safety primer, and if you have used casings, you load them on the casing holder, and the depriming die will knock out the old primer, and they drop down into the tube that we installed. And the little primer arm, you load a new primer in, and as the ram comes down, it'll load the new primer into the casing. It turns, and the expanding die will expand the casing a little bit, drop your powder charge. Then you set your projectile on top of your casing, and the seating die will seat that projectile into your casing. And the last die is the crimping die, and that'll crimp the casing around your projectile to give you a good tight fit. And that's basically how the 4-turret Lee press works. For the next video, we're going to take the old casings that I have, deprime them, and then clean them. I have a little ultrasonic cleaner that I'm going to try using. So keep an eye out for that video.